Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Rangers Review as we react to the team news which has just dropped at Ibrox. Joshua Barrie is there for us. You can see the little ticker below you. Joshua is in the press room at Ibrox. It's a bustling place, as you can expect. And as you can see, the little ticker below. It's the team I predicted this morning. It's McGregor in goals. It looks like a back four, Joshua, of Tavernier, Goldson, Davis and Barisic. It's Lundstrom and Jack in midfield with Arfield, Sakala and Kent supporting Antonio Cholak up front. On the bench for Rangers, Robbie McCrory, John McLaughlin, Ridvan Yilmaz, Stephen Davis, Rabi Matondo, James Sands, Alfredo Morelos, Scott Wright, Leon King, Adam Devine and Malik Tillman. Joshua, what's your reaction to that team?
Good question, Derek. I'm just scrambling to make some opinions because I've just seen it. Top line, obviously, that Cholak keeps his place. I think that's important. That's the correct decision. When he scored that many goals, when you expect to have a little bit more of the ball, we've repeated how much more chances Rangers have created at home compared to away in Europe. So I think that's the right decision to start him. Sakala had to retain his place for me because he's direct. Was performance at the weekend, but also what he'll give you tonight, which is direct running, a goal threat and energy. Scott Arfield, I didn't expect him to start because he played so much at the weekend. I think the fact that he played, that long at the weekend suggests that Van Bronckhorst might have played Glenn Kamara, who's ruled out through injury. He picked up a knock, he told us yesterday, presumably in training. And slightly, not surprised at the back four, but I just thought that Van Bronckhorst might do what he's done against other big teams that have come to Ibrox, which is go with that back five. I just wonder if the fact that Sakala is starting impinges what happens with impinges on what happens with James Tavernier a little bit. Obviously, at the weekend, he was far more involved in central areas. We're used to in Europe seeing him as one of almost the highest player at points attacking the back post. So I wonder if that'll be the same. But I think as a team that shows Rangers are going to try and go and be aggressive. Jack and Lundstrom's a good base. In the midfield, and Ryan Kent needs to have a big night. So looking forward to seeing how it plays out. And the Liverpool team as well, Derek. I don't know if you've got that in front of you to read out, but a few surprises there as well.
Yeah, I do. I'll run through that as well, folks. The Liverpool side, it is Alisson, Joe Gomez comes in for Trent Alexander-Arnold, Fabinho, Virgil van Dijk, Kanate, Firmino, Jordan Henderson, who captains the team, Harvey Elliott, Mikas, Nunez, and Carvalho. I might look to see if I can find their bench as well. I've got it here. It's Adrian and Keller, the two substitute goalkeepers. Thiago starts on the bench. Milner, Salah, Diogo Jota, Andy Robertson, and they've got two more boys there. They've got Nat Phillips is on the bench, who is the son, incidentally, of former Rangers player Jimmy Phillips. Those of an older vintage will fondly remember Jimmy from his time at Rangers, and Basic is on the bench as well for Liverpool. So that is how they line up. No Mo Salah in the starting lineup. That has to be a good thing, do you reckon, Joshua? I wonder if that is with one eye, as we mentioned this morning on Sunday, because Liverpool take on Manchester City. They will have one eye on that. There's no doubt about it, because that is a huge match for them at the weekend. But looking at Liverpool's side, is there any players in there that you're wary of?
Oh, I mean, definitely. You still look at that front four, Carvalho. I know Carvalho and Elliott may not be Jota and Salah, but obviously still some of the most promising young players in the world. So it'll be maybe they will be quite at the level of the players that start ahead of them, but they'll still provide a lot of quality. And then you've still got a player like Nunez, who obviously cost all that money in the summer. It was the same with Man City last night when they were away in Copenhagen. Obviously, they didn't play their star man, Haaland, kept him on the bench. I think it's similar for Liverpool. They have an eye to the weekend because if Liverpool were to lose at the weekend, they could well be 17 points behind the top of the table after 10 league games, which is kind of incomprehensible for a team that took the Premier League title race down to the final 10 minutes of last season. So I think it's reflected with that in mind. You've still got players like Fabinho and Henderson in there, a Champions League and Premier League winning midfield, a very strong defence. Well, the fact that Joe Gomez is playing instead of Alexander-Arnold, yes, it might not give him as much going forward, but will almost slightly help the balance defensively because Liverpool have conceded so many goals lately. And yeah, as I say, regardless, I think they've got pace to hurt Rangers in attack, and still a lot of quality within that squad. So slightly surprised. I think you'd be slightly relieved that Jota and Salah aren't playing from a Rangers persuasion because of the quality that they bring. It will be such a difficult game for Rangers to get anything, but just sensing the atmosphere in the stadium, speaking to people before the game, Derek, I think there's confidence in amongst the Rangers support that their team can go and do something tonight, put on a showing that is better than anything they've managed to do so far. And as I've said a couple of times, the one thing that has been missing from this run of European games in the last 4 or 5 years since Steven Gerrard came in has been a win against an English team. And Rangers have had so many memorable nights at this stadium, so I'm hoping that tonight's another memorable one and they put on a performance that does them justice, because I don't think they've managed to do that so far since getting into the Champions League proper.
Yeah, I think that Fashion Sakala did himself no favours last week. Well, he hasn't done, because he's in the starting lineup. Joshua, David said it's a big game for Fashion. How pleased are you to see him start the game, and how big a night is this for him? It's absolutely huge, isn't it? It's the biggest stage in a player's career. You could say biggest club competition in the world. You just hope that he's not overawed. We know his limitations, but he has impressed recently, and I just feel that he can cause that Liverpool backline a few problems tonight.
You've seen that when he came off the bench as well, Derek. He obviously gives you that unpredictability. He gives you direct running, and if you have that on one side with Kent and the other side with Sakala, I think that gives you should give you a real nice balance. As I say, I do wonder what will happen with Tavernier. Will he play slightly more inside the pitch as he did in the weekend? Will he? I imagine he'll still want to get forward as much as possible. But if Liverpool do play with those 4 forwards, maybe Ryan Jacqueline drop back into right back and allow Tavernier to push forward. Up top, I think Čolak is the right decision, because a good example, the chance Morelos gets, for example, against Napoli after 1 minute, I think Čolak I think he's finished harder chances this season. Certainly finished harder crosses. The flip side to that is that Rangers' pass completion against Napoli was, I think, the second lowest in the whole competition on that night. That's not to say they were bad with the ball. What it kind of depicts is that they went long a lot. They went over the press. That's been quite effective at points under Van Bronckhorst in certain games. They did it against Leipzig, but it's intentional. It's not just kicking the ball and hoping. It's trying to play over the press. I think that'll be the case as well tonight. Will they miss Morelos' ability to occupy defenders and get them up the pitch? We'll have to wait and see, but I don't think you could keep Čolak on the bench tonight because of the numbers that he's hit, because of how ruthless he's been, in particular at Ibrox. And look at the goal he scored against PSV in the Champions League qualifiers, for example. It's not just against the Scottish Premiership opposition that he's scored the goals. So here's hoping he can replicate the inevitability of the scoring record so far.
Yeah, absolutely. And as Ian said, I totally agree. It did look a bit like a fish out of water in that Europa League final, though.
You see just on Sakala, sorry to interrupt, but before we move on, could be proved wrong on this, but I always think when he's come on in the middle, or in games, or when he's not pinned to the touchline, he does look. I agree with you, and he does look a little bit like his positionally he doesn't know where to be. And he spoke about that at the weekend, how Van Bronckhorst was coaching him through the game. I think when he's out wide, he knows he always has to pull wide, stretch the pitch. He's almost got a place he knows where he needs to be, instead of as a centre forward, does he drop? Does he go in behind? Where does he move in coordination with where the ball is? I think when he's got the touchline to almost act as a bit of a barometer, that sometimes helps him. And when he is 1v1 against defenders, the pace that he has over the first 10, 15 yards and the power he can match that with is so, I think, hard to combat. So yeah, we'll see if that's the case tonight. But I agree with that comment. I just think that's maybe why he's shown his best form for Rangers out wide rather than in the middle.
Yeah, it could be that answer out on that right-hand side. Just to give you an update, folks, Napoli are currently taking on Ajax over in Italy. It's 2-1. Napoli did race into a 2-goal lead in the first half, but David Klaassen has just got a goal back for Ajax in the second half. 50 minutes played in that game there. I think as far as Rangers are concerned, we want a Napoli victory in that one. Another big talking point from the team, Joshua, is that Scott Arfield starts. CGM 55, who's watching us all the way from Spain. Good to have your company, buddy. He says, bit disappointed that Arfield is starting. He is limited now. I had him in my predicted lineup to start the game. I just think he offers more than what Malik Tillman would. And I can understand why he's starting this evening. But Rangers do need Scott Arfield, that vintage Scott Arfield, the full of energy, careful in possession, offering that goal threat. They need him on top of his game tonight, don't they?
Definitely, Derek. Tillman, I don't think starts because in games where it's this fast, I don't think he's shown an ability to really get into these games or contribute as much as Rangers need him. Whereas Arfield, you know what you'll get at a base level with him. You know, I think that's a certainty, and the hope will be, I'd imagine, that around about him, other players are able to add what he maybe complement his limitations on the ball. Big night for John Lundstrom, who I think needs to put on a much better showing than he did last week in Liverpool. Listening to his press conference yesterday, I think he'd tend to agree with that. Ryan Jack, for me, has looked a lot sharper in the last few weeks as well. And Davies and Goldson, be a big test for them as a partnership tonight. The early signs have been good for me. I think they complement one another. Having the benefit of a left-footed player in there, and Davies, I think certainly helps Rangers when they're building up in the back. But as I say, it'll be interesting to see how much Rangers, if they try to play through Liverpool's press at all. Alan McGregor, if he just goes direct all the time. Sakala is also quite a good outball high up the pitch. If you're looking to play the ball long over the top of the press, which I'm sure will be considered. And a big night for Ryan Kent, I think. If Rangers are able to get something out tonight, they need a number of players to have performances that reach, they're stealing the best what they can give and more. And I don't think that's really been the case this season. If they can do that, if they can be aggressive, of course they give themselves a chance. You've also got to consider the quality of the opposition, and when it comes in, you see that team line, but equally that's not Liverpool's strongest team. So I hope Rangers give it a go. I hope they do themselves justice and it puts on a good game here, because up to this point in 3 Champions League games, I don't think they've quite done that so far. So hopefully that happens tonight. Derek will obviously check in at the end of the game and recap, see if that's been the case.
Yeah, CGM 55 says he's in Ben Al Medina. Now, there is a terrific Rangers bar there that was at watching the Leipzig game, the semi-final. I wonder if you're watching the game there, buddy. He says, just back from a tea, picked the restaurant as there was a family with Rangers tops on. If the Rangers bar is close to there, then I'd fully recommend you go and watch the game there. I'm not quite sure entirely whereabouts you are, but yeah, it was a terrific night, a historic night on that occasion. And I love this. We talked about the person travelling all the way from Devon to go to Ibrox tonight. April gets in touch. Took me nearly 10 hours to travel from Devon since you asked this morning. Well, that is dedication. Love that stuff. Hopefully you're staying overnight in Glasgow and it's not another 10-hour journey back down the road. But if Rangers get a result tonight, Joshua, they'll be flying down the road.
Yeah, no problem. No problem if there's a result. But that is impressive. I hope they have something to cheer tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. Before we go, just hearing that Calvin Bassey has provided the assist for Davy Klaassen for Ajax. So I've not seen the goal myself, but Malky does say he had the assist. Sean Lund says it was a cracking ball as well. But let's hope they don't score any more goals because we want a Napoli win if Rangers are to keep their Europa League hopes alive. I think that is a most realistic chance, no doubt, of playing football past Christmas. Just to give you a reminder then of that team, folks. It's Alan McGregor in goals. It looks like it will be a back four of James Tavernier, Connor Goldson, Ben Davis and Borna Barisic, Ryan Jack and John Lundstrom in front of then Scott Arfield up helping the forward line, which consists of Fashion Sakala on the right, you'd imagine, Ryan Kent in his usual left-hand side role, and Antonio Cholak getting the nod over Alfredo Morelos up top. So that is the Rangers team, folks. And just a reminder of that substitute bench. It's McCrory and McLaughlin, the two sub-goalkeepers. Ridvan, Davis, Matondo, Sands, Morelos, Wright, King, Devine and Tillman. You went for a 1-1 draw this morning, Joshua. Have you changed that thought? Before we get to the predictions, how did the youngsters get on? Losing 4-3. What a thriller that was.
Yeah, great game, 7 goals. If you're on the YouTube channel, you can watch my recap with a good friend, Stevie Clifford of the Rangers Review, and 4 lads had the dream on the YouTube feed. We kind of recap the game. They did well. Liverpool showed their level in those moments still, but Rangers competed better. Largely overall, Zach Lovelace, very good. A lot of excitement around him, and justifiably so. So, yeah, as I say, go and check out that video with Stevie, which will be on the YouTube homepage for the Rangers Review.
Yeah, good stuff. Good showing from the Rangers side. I've seen some of the goals. The goal from the boy Doak, I don't know if that's how you pronounce his name, is an absolute beauty. He's a right star. Right, prediction time. Are you still going with one apiece, Joshua?
I am, and because I've already changed my mind on the team about 22 times, and I still didn't get it right. So I'll stick to my guns on this one. And you're going? Are you still going 4-0?
Yeah.
Whatever you went with this morning?
Well, Cliff, who's watching us from Los Angeles, good to have your company, Cliff. He's going with you, Joshua. 1-1 draw. I just fancy Rangers tonight. I just think that I just fancy him to do it. Someone mentioned earlier on in the comments a Braga. I think it could be a famous old night at Ibrox. I agree with Broxy Bears bro here. 2-1 Rangers, Tav winner. I'll take whoever scores a winner. Don't care as long as Rangers are celebrating 3 points over Liverpool tonight. I don't think anyone would mind. Okay, that will do it here, folks. Just a reminder, Josh is at the game for us and we'll be back at full time once he's spoken to the manager and what have you. We'll come back with a post-match reaction video, all things being well. But if you're heading to the game, enjoy it, sing your hearts out and what have you. I'm sure it's going to be a terrific occasion. What's it like in the press room? Is it bustling, Joshua, outside?
Almost 200 members of the media are going to be here tonight.
Wow.
So that shows you how much interest there is, obviously with Liverpool being here as well. So yeah, very busy. Going to head up now to the gantry, get sorted, and just waiting for the game to start now.
Yeah, cannot wait for it. Okay, folks, we'll speak to you a little later on. Bye for now.